Hey everyone, welcome. I'll wait a couple of minutes for everyone to jump on board right now, but I would like to welcome you to the Optimizing Performance for Race Day Masterclass. So this is something I am very passionate about, and that being getting the most out of your system and your body, whether that's for training or for racing competitively. So, hi guys, welcome. Hey Laurel. If you are here and you're checking in, please give me a thumbs up or a wave. Let me know where you're from. Otherwise, we're going to get started and jump straight into what we're going to cover. So in this masterclass, we're going to cover the two most important aspects for your performance or your ability, like physical ability. And we're going to cover that lead up to event day, what to do on event day, and then also we'll talk about how to back up the next day. So for the event last weekend, that being two state championship level rides, there was a lot of climbing, a lot of energy. It was either up or down on the side of a mountain, essentially, and it involved a really high level of energy expenditure and like being on the rivet, really. So I had to back up from Saturday to Sunday. This is something I'm quite familiar with doing. I prefer multi-stage events and endurance events. So over the years, look, I've been racing for like 22 years now on the road and 5 or 6 on the mountain bike now. So getting the most out of your body, out of the most from your system is something I've done through trial and error. Obviously, we need to avoid drug testing scenarios. So at a national level, you are tested for different performance enhancing drugs, which I have had to dance around, i.e. don't take hemp protein powder or hemp supplements. You'll be tested as positive. So I'm looking for, in my experience, as natural options and ways you can accelerate your performance. So when it comes down to race day or performance day, for me, the biggest mindset factor is to check in and realize that the hard work is done. Like literally your training and your hard work is done. There is nothing more physically to do. It's just to get on board, get out there and have fun. And this is something I repeat to myself to strengthen my mind and my ability. The hard work is done, just go out and enjoy it now. So that motto is definitely something that sticks for me. But also we want to consider that the two most important aspects that you have 100% control over when you are out riding, racing or anything. Number one, write this down, get a pen and paper. Number one, you have control over your mind. And number two, you have full control over your system. So they are the two most important aspects. Write that down to manage and to boost and to take ownership of to improve your performance. So something I want to mention from the get-go right now, hi Mikey, is to say that I am not sponsored or endorsing any particular brands here. I'm not associated or responsible for any sponsorship or agreements here, but this is what I use, what I believe in, and what I've found to be the most beneficial. So firstly, let's cover your system. So in order to get the most out of your system, we want to look at like your physicality. So as a physio and someone who teaches performance and strength work, you want to optimize the ability to really access the full capacity of your system. So on the lead up to the event, I firstly would actually get a massage or dry needling, so acupuncture. Now this should be no less than 4 days beforehand. You can get DOMS or soreness from a heavy massage or someone going too hard, and you can get bruising from the needling. I myself love dry needling. I actually acupuncture and needle my legs for like 45 minutes, 4 or 5 days before the event. Now what that means is that sometimes I get bruised, sometimes my legs feel heavy. You need 3 days for your body to come back from the heavy massage or the needling. So I'm qualified in dry needling, which a lot of other physiotherapists are. So if you don't like massages or you can't access a massage, dry needling is amazing. Like through your hip flexors, through your quads, your ITB, TFL, down through to your shins, which is also in the Chinese meridian to release your psoas and your hip flexors. So you want that at least 4 days before, if not earlier, okay? Then coming into the event, you want to increase your hydration a lot, probably more than you ever have, to flush your system and to be super hydrated. Now, write this down. Our bodies require 1 liter for every 22 kilos of body weight. So that is without exercise, that is without loading your system, that is without racing or coffee or anything that dehydrates you like heat. For me, that's, I think, from my weight, 3.5 liters of water a day before exercise. So just for your system, for your body's perspiration that occurs when you are just being on this planet, to breathe, to process your food. So hydration is super important. We're talking quite a big stretch out of that event. Who actually drinks 3 liters of water a day? Tell me. Does anyone out there actually drink 3 liters? Because truly, when you start to do it, yes, you're going to wee all the time. That's the truth of it. But your body does get used to it and you do get the benefits of it, okay? Now, in those lead-up days, it's not necessarily carb loading unless you're looking at a 200K event. So the longest event I've raced was a 24-hour event on the road, but I only did the 12-hour. That was enough for me at the time. Leading up to that event, for which I covered, I think it was 400 kilometers in 12 hours. What my body needed, yes, was carbohydrates, but you cannot forget your protein. So there's plenty of places to look up what your protein requirement is, and that is for someone who is of your average athlete. So if you're pushing your body beyond the limits and you have the capacity to reach more into your system, you want to be making sure you cover that minimum value of protein. For me, that's 95 to 100 grams of protein a day for my body weight as a female athlete who does resistance training. They're the variables to consider here. Now, I like to have eggs as my protein source. When I found out an egg is 6 grams of protein, I was like, well, that's a lot of eggs. So make sure you vary where your protein's coming from. If it's coming from a powder, great. But if you are not a big meat eater, you're going to need to eat a lot of other protein sources. I am a meat eater. I love good red meat, and I notice when I don't have red meat. So make sure you're meeting your protein and your iron needs coming into that event. So part of your system here is also looking at your tapering. And of course, the most of you who are competing here are going, with that coach. They will obviously create your tapering and your time frames, but I really back off, except for some short and sharp strategic intervals with a lot of recovery, just to keep my system sharp. You don't want to do nothing, and your taper period will vary depending on what your normal output is in your training week, okay? Now, when it comes to supplements and things to literally expand your ability, this is where I am very passionate about research and looking at the literature and the science around it. So I've actually been using essential oils of a very high quality, certified therapeutic grade so that I can consume those oils. So we're not talking about oils off the shelf at Coles. Do not ingest those. You need to get a certain quality for oils to be taken. Now, there's a 2013 study. Now, this study, I cannot pronounce the name. I'm very bad at pronouncing. Let me read it to you. 2013 study conducted on cyclists for 10 days by Mibashi and Rajabi. Look that up. If you want the link to this literature, please ask me in the comments or send me a DM, and I can literally send you these article links so that you can read the research for yourself. So this particular study using peppermint oil, like ingesting it, make sure you get a good grade. I use doTERRA. You don't have to use doTERRA, but it has to say food flavoring or able to be consumed on the bottle. Now, if you take peppermint oil, the study found for 10 days, this improved respiratory rate in cyclists. It improved and increased the distance traveled per time frame. It increased performance and increased time till exhaustion, and it looked at VO2 measures. Now there's also other literature, I think 2014, that is fully published, which looked at like long jumping distance with regards to power and strength output based on consumption of peppermint oil. So I personally don't need to have a big amount of research to go, hey, look, there's some research there, I'm going to give it a go, I have nothing to lose. So I literally took in the lead up to the event a drop of peppermint oil in my mouth every day in the lead up to that event to increase my body's performance. Now, peppermint oil also does expand your system and your alertness, which for me for the mountain bike racing last weekend was really important. So I continued to take that up until the day. It also helps with like nausea and headaches and IBS and that sort of stuff. But please, if you have any health problems like that, consult your doctor first. But there's plenty of published literature around this stuff. Now, something else that I do respond really well to in my body is beetroot. So I'm sure that most of you have read or researched about the beetroot consumption. Beetroot is like huge. There is so much literature and evidence around the use of beetroot. It's crazy. So you can Google what you like. There's plenty of opportunities to find published research here. For me personally, I would take a litre of beetroot juice fresh. So if you're in Australia, we've got a Woolworths brand, I think it's Corson's, which is beetroot and ginger together. But we also have, like I passed through Bunbury Farmers Market, so I had fresh, like big beetroot juice with ginger and orange. Now, with the use of beetroot juice, it actually drops your blood pressure a lot. So be mindful that if you're consuming a lot of beetroot or beetroot juice and you have low blood pressure, like myself, that can literally make you quite lightheaded on the day. I have experienced that. I have actually been at work the day before a race years ago, literally going into a low blood pressure situation before I learnt how much beetroot actually does clinically lower your blood pressure. So be careful with beetroot. It does help improve your performance and your outcome measures, definitely. But I feel like the study that I've read with the most literature around it supported half a litre of beetroot juice. So again, if you want any of this research, please send me a message in the comments or a DM and I can sort you out with the information so you can look at it for yourself. Something last weekend that I reached to for my performance was actually Berocca. Now, I don't usually use Berocca in all honesty, but last week was actually really stressful for me personally and very demanding on my immune system. So I got to 3 or 4 days before these 2 epic races, like epic as in the amount of energy expenditure, and felt really flat and my immune system was bottoming out. So when I came into the weekend, I actually chose to lift my vitamin and mineral intake. So I literally just chose, I'm like, I know my system crashes. I know that endurance athletes, it's very well researched and published again, our immune system bottoms out after high intensity exercise at any of any form. So not necessarily just a race day. If you go and do intervals and you work really hard or go on a really, really long ride, your immune system in 10 to 15 hours after that bottoms out. So when you're looking at backing up for multiple race days, your nutrient and your vitamin content is really important. So I used Berocca the morning of each race and afterwards, literally to bring up my B vitamins, bring up my zinc, bring up my C, which are all really important for your performance and your systemic function. So write Berocca down. Now, something I've spoke to before is magnesium as being really important. I notice my system, again, I don't have the physiological output when my magnesium is low. So things that drop magnesium are things like wine, coffee, stress, and a lot of the foods that we eat in today's day and age. So your magnesium, again, remember I'm not sponsored here, but I choose Endura electrolyte, and I think it's Endura hydration formula. Raspberry's delicious. Its magnesium formula is one that's quite patented. So it's a particular chemical compound which works really well in a muscle system and in your musculoskeletal entity rather than your digestive system, because different magnesiums actually have a different chemical action on our bodies, and there's like 10 different chemical types. So Endura's formula compound also includes sodium, potassium, and calcium in an arrangement that is optimal for absorption. Coming into the event, I made sure I took magnesium night formula. Again, I think I've shown you the bottle of this. I didn't mean to bring it in today. It's from the chemist. It's a powder. It helps to calm your nervous system down, help you sleep and recover. So coming into the event, magnesium is a big one to be watching for. And other than that, you want to prioritize your sleep. So sleep's a really big one. Coming into the event, really focus on your body's rest and just winding down as much as you can at work and at home. So they're your biggest system factors to cover. But there's also, as we said at the start, the second cover that's one of the most important aspects is your mind. Now, this is something obviously that I work with one-on-one with all of my clients, and I've noticed a massive difference in using what I have learned in neuro-linguistic programming and in coaching with my clients to actually have their mind create the outcome that they desire. So for example, last week for me, I spent a lot of time in my normal meditations, which are in the mornings, affirming my results. Like literally taking visualization, which is a really powerful tool, which I use so often in almost every client situation, using the visualizations to create the neural network and the neural pathway in your subconscious to create the outcome. Now, if you're wiring your system and wiring your mind to a certain outcome, what that does is actually set it in your system, like in your physiology, in your nervous system, in your energetic system, as safe and sound and achievable. So look, visualization has been around for a long, long time at like an Olympic level. This is not new, this is not fandangled, but what we do want to take into ownership here is your power to work with your mind. Now, for me, that showed up last week as visualizing the trails. So Pemberton is a course that's quite technical, and I have struggled before in some of the more technical features there. So in the lead up, in the week prior to the event, I visualized myself riding those trails with ease, with agility, with flow, and making it easy. And I know the trails, they're beautiful, they're magic, I love it there, but they can be technical depending on what the surface and conditions are like for a mountain bike race. So I spent time visualizing, even while I'm making a cup of tea or at a set of traffic lights. You don't have to shut your eyes. You can still visualize the trail and set it into your mind and your system what it's like to experience that. So when you physically get there on the day, your system is cued to find it easy, to find the trail fluid, to find like the energy and the, oh, I've got this, like I can ride this. Now, the visualization of the trails was one part. I also started to affirm that I could win. Like I've had a big break from racing, so much so that I didn't even like know what the competition would be like or how I would fare. And to be very honest with you, I didn't go into it with much training under my belt compared to what I've done in previous years. I'm used to 10 or 15 hours a week as a minimum as my training load. Now I was reaching like 6-9 hours most of the time. So my training certainly wasn't at what I'm familiar with and used to, which for me actually made me really nervous and really worried about how I do, because I knew my strength lied in my fitness, not my trail riding skills. I'm quite well known as the one that jumps off and doesn't ride the features and just runs her bike. So I had to talk myself into my ability, really. And what that looked like in a practical sense was actually affirming my ability to win. And I know that sounds very self-absorbed, but in my normal meditation space, I started to say things like, I've got this, I can suffer. Like I know how to suffer in my body and how to push, and my skills have improved and someone has to win. I can win this. And really affirmed my ability to ride the trail and to utilize my strengths and know that the trail was fun, and know that if I stayed in flow and if I stayed on my game and say at one with the bike, then I could do well. So going into it, using and running those positive stories in my mind of my ability made a huge difference on the day, because then it was second nature. It was like I had done it before. So setting that mental intention, visualizing even the suffer, like I literally spent time thinking of those climbs in Pemberton, which are really steep. Let's be honest, enduro riders push their bikes up the hill because they don't like to ride or exert themselves uphill. I raced enduro, I understand this. I was the one who rode up the hill. But to literally spend time knowing and feeling in my body, I know how to suffer. I can climb and I can put myself in the hurt locker. And it's funny that I set myself for that and for the ability to bury myself physically. Because when I look at the photos from the weekend, I literally have got the biggest suffer face on. It's really embarrassing. Where once I'd be like having a great time, I actually had a suffer face and a focused face and a determined face in the photos. And I was like, geez, I look real worried here. But creating that backbone of my mind's ability and strengthening and flexing the mental perseverance was so valuable on the day. So your visualization here, you're affirming your ability, you're affirming even the possibility that someone has to win, someone has to take that home, and knowing it may as well be you. Working through any blocks, because I know going into it, I did have doubts and fears. I was concerned I hadn't done the work. I was concerned I hadn't been to Pemberton in a while. I could easily let that mindset run the story. And I can tell you right now on the second day, that's exactly what was running the story. So the first day exhausted me, which I'll get to your systemic support for your day performance in the lead up. But when you look at the second day of an event or a race on a multi-stage thing, like say the Cape to Cape, or say you've done the Pioneer or Cape Epic, which are my bucket list events, like the BC bike race, your body after day one kind of feels ruined, and it feels even more ruined the next day. And it's very easy to run the stories of, oh, I'm so tired, oh, my legs are really tired, or I don't know how I'm going to go, or I'll just do my best, and or I don't feel well, or I have no legs. And the more you actually say that to other people, and the more you think that, you're affirming that as your outcome. Like, that is how the mind and the body communicates together. So I was definitely running those stories even on the morning of the race. And I had friends there where I was like, I feel like shit. I feel like death warmed up. And today's going to be even more technical and more hard on the body. And I'm lucky that my Miyagi, the guy who has taught me so patiently to harness my skills and be more assertive on the bike, just basically said to me, just do what you did yesterday. Just do what you did yesterday. Just repeat it. You know how to do that. Which again was perfect, because that affirmed in my mind my ability. And I just went, okay, Sarah, you can repeat what you did yesterday. So really tackling the story. So I know that a lot of people who are watching, looking below, do race like road, like criterium stuff. If you go into your event worried about your outcome, or telling everyone you're tired, or you haven't had a great week, and coming up with excuses, you're literally running the story of your outcome. So really harness what your mind is telling you and take control of it. And this is literally the work I do with clients, in business, in relationships, in training, in racing. Like, the more you can harness the direction of your thoughts, you're creating that reality in your system and in your body. This is not news. This is Joe Dispenza's work. It's called coherence. I'm going to write a blog article on this because everyone seems to bang up against this and not really believe what's going on. But what we're going to do is create the feeling of having the win, of riding the trails with ease, of nailing the jumps or nailing the log overs or the drops. Start to bring that entity and that feeling into your body of having it done and dusted and complete. And that's exactly what will happen on the day. So harness your system through the physical aspects and get your mind on track. Truly. So let me check. I've covered some of the things here. Now, does anyone have any questions about that? Please pop it in the comments, even if you're watching this on replay. If you are watching this on replay, please do #replay. And remember, I'll still get your questions or queries, even if this is a month on. So please pop them in the comments. I'll just check we have covered everything. Yes, cool. So on the day, like I mentioned earlier, I did lean on Berocca as my vitamin and mineral intake, because the high level of energy expenditure in training or racing bottoms your immune system out. And when you need to back up the next day, and it's not just one day, your system needs the support. Now, I'd love to think that all of you are having like all of your fresh greens and all of your vegetables and having it fresh from the ground and not frozen. And I know that you're all having like a vegetable side lasagna for dinner that night, which is really not what's happened, right? Everyone's gone and had a cider and a pizza. And that's not necessarily the high vitamin and mineral content that your system needs to expand your performance. So please look at your nutrients, look at your intake. I definitely had a wine both nights, but I knew that I was supporting my system for how that would deplete it as well. So cover your butt. On the day, I actually use on my chest, and after the event, I've got another thought I must not forget to add. On my chest, Easy Air. Now, Easy Air is a blend. Again, it's essential oils. It is a blend of a formula that actually opens up your airways. It is designed to open up your airways and your breath. Now, when it comes to riding, racing, running, any kind of performance, your respiratory condition and a ventilation capacity is paramount. If you're breathing with half of your lungs, you're only going to get half of your VO2 output. Your breathing and your ventilation is the basis of getting more and more and more out of your body. So at the start, like an hour before, I'd go and ride the course. A course lap for cross country is about 20 minutes. So I get the course into my system. I remember where I can go hard, where I can recover. I have my coffee, and I actually have a whole bottle of electrolyte and water an hour beforehand, because I want that all in my system. I do ride, unfortunately and embarrassingly, with a camelback for events where I can't get my hand out to drink. I'm learning to drop that so that I can just take a bidon or a bottle, but get the hydration in your system the hour before so your body's not going to hit a flat line or hit your maximum capacity or hit a wall at 45 minutes or an hour. The more you can have everything your system needs in your body before the start of the race, the easier you're going to find the event, because you've got the system support to lean on your body and push it, like literally push it beyond what it's capable of. And remember too, get a pen, write this down. You can always get more out of your system and your body than what you think is possible. Always. Your limit is in your mind. You are limited by when you decide you've had enough. If you support your system with all of the things it needs to perform and look after your body like the temple, then you're going to be able to push it far beyond what you think is capable. And I remember both days thinking half an hour in, I don't train this hard. I'm like, Jesus, I probably need to train a little bit harder. But what we do want here is to be able to push your system beyond what you've done before. This is an event, this is race day. You want it to count, right? You've done the work. So put it in your body, put the things that you need in your body before the race. Easy air. It's a doTERRA blend. It opens up your ventilation, and it's also got a sharpness because it is a blend to help your reactivity time, your alertness, your focus. Now, these are really important in criterium events, in mountain biking, and anything that requires your reaction time to be on point and have you like at one with the bike. Now, so that means, I actually have a banana on the start line of every race. Like literally, I jam my body with food and get another banana in, because I know that banana is literally 120 calories. That's gone in like 8 minutes. Like poof, never happened. So your body will consume a lot of energy very quickly. So you want it energetically available in your blood, in your stomach, in your system. Now, take a breath. That's a lot of content to cover. During the race, I actually have gone to just using straight lollies, which is very, 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 very anti what I would usually do. But I find they're small, digestible, and I don't have to chew them. I can suck them. So it's whatever works for you. Gels upset my belly if I have more than one. They're great for road racing, like doing 130 Ks, you're looking at a 3-hour ride. But for cross-country mountain biking, it's about an hour and a half. So the lollies are sufficient. When you're going into a more endurance time frame, you definitely want to have some protein and perhaps even some fats into whatever it is you are consuming. So backing up, when you have multi-stage events or 2 days in a row like I did last weekend, what happens in that 20-minute window after you cross that finish line is key. I have always a protein shake ready to go when I've crossed that line, before I cool down, before I do anything else. It needs to be down the hatch in that 20-minute window for your system to recover well. So that's the first thing. Now, if it's a long event like 2 hours, I'd be having another bottle of whatever electrolyte is your electrolyte of choice, and something that doesn't upset your tummy. What I use, again, orally, be careful with your type and your branding. Again, doTERRA, you can take it orally. It's certified grade and you can consume certain oils. The inflammation that your body goes through when you're training and racing hard is quite huge, like in your muscles, in your cells, through your whole system. doTERRA have an essential oil called frankincense, which is very, very, very potent. I take a drop of that to recover for anti-bacterial stuff as well, for anti-inflammatory. It's literally, I think, anti-spasmodic as well. Frankincense is when you think about it, one of the things that the three kings brought to baby Jesus in the stories. So it's one of the most valuable and powerful oils and entities you can actually use on your system. So I take the frankincense after the race to help recover. Now, last weekend I actually smashed my knee on the fridge when I was stretching the day before the race, because I have a stretch routine I do after I ride. And it came up really sore, like right on my kneecap, quite bruised. And that's the last thing you need, obviously, as a cyclist. And I took the frankincense and I applied it topically as well to shrink down that inflammation. Now, that's the sort of use that you can rely on frankincense for, but just make sure that it's okay on your body and your system. Test it, all of these things before race day, please, in case you have a reaction. Another big aspect of your recovery from day one and recovery to day two, thank you for the heart, will be active recovery. So for the Cape to Cape mountain bike races and for multi-stage events, I choose to go out in the afternoon, a couple of hours after the event, and spin my legs for 20 minutes. No effort. What you're looking at here is the blood flow and the circulation to aid the repair of your cells, the repair of your muscles, and to flush out your lactic stuff, because there's many things that happen there with the load through your muscles and cells. So active recovery 20 minutes and overhydration, like super hydrate yourself, are going to be big factors for actioning your recovery. I also continue with the beetroot when it's day to day, and carbs. So yes, protein is really important for muscle repair, but we also really need the carbohydrates for your energy in your cells as well. Now, these are the biggest things that I've found important to recovery and improving my performance. If there's something you want to add or ask, please pop it in the comments now. Even if you're watching this on replay, please do #replay so I know that you're getting through this really valuable masterclass. And as you know, this is literally the work that I am trained to do with people. So yes, I work in relationships because that's where my biggest war wounds are. Truly, that's where I have struggled the most in my life. But my experience of racing for 22 years and being a physio for 15 years and doing the work physically with clients to do performance enhancement, strength and conditioning means that your physical entity is just one part of it. And no doubt a lot of you already have coaches for your physical training. But like I said, the two other important aspects which you have absolute control over is your mind and your system. And that's where I step in with my coaching and the work and the tools that I'm fully trained to do with people. So my training here is in neuro-linguistic programming, which is tapping into the subconscious mind, which is the mind that runs what actually happens the most of the time. When you get in the car, you don't have to think about brake and accelerate and timing of clutch. It's automated, right? The automation is coming from your subconscious programming in your system and your wiring and your networks that make it happen automatically. Sometimes when we're looking for performance or health improvements like weight loss or strengthening, any health-related thing, the ability of your subconscious mind to run that story and rerun it because it's proven to be effective in the past, that pattern, that story will continue to run. So this definitely overlaps to your physical performance, as in race results. Even if it's like enduro, we're not talking about necessarily fitness, we're talking about high level skill, timing, agility. These things can be improved through mindset training, for want of better words. But this is not just mindset or accountability I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally accessing parts of your brain that are programmed in a certain way. And this is across life, how you relate to your bike, how you relate to your food, how you relate to what you're eating, how you relate to winning, or your performance. Like if you run the story of, oh, I never do well, or I always get third, or oh, I usually podium, I never win, it's exactly what's going to happen. So if your performance, if you feel like there's more to where you're at right now in your performance and you want to up level that and up level your health, up level your system, up level your mindset, send me a message. Guys, as you know, next week I am opening capacity, which is why I mentioned this. I'm opening my capacity and my availability to have more availability for you. And right now I want to extend an offer, which I haven't done publicly yet, for you to try coaching, for you to try working with me, just for a session. Just give it a go, especially if you don't know what coaching is going to get you or give you. Now, what that extended special is that I'm literally potentially tomorrow or the next day offering 5 spots to try a coaching session for less than half the price it usually is. So usually people pay $250 for a one-on-one session with me, and it's usually over an hour, just so you know. Now, for these 5 spots to try it, I'm running it at $99, but only 5. I do have another program that's running and kicking off next week, Attract the One. You would have seen the post. That is for relationship creation. But I'm also here for performance creation and igniting more out of your system and your body. That's where my results speak the volumes for you. So if you found this valuable, please tag someone in it who needs to hear this. If you're called to see what it's like to do coaching and to work together, send me a message. Literally, this work is, rather than going into a package, this is for your health. This is to prep your physical and systemic body. This is to manage your health, your mindset, and work on your unique needs within your sport and your realm. So if this is something that you feel like you want to give it a go and try, and you're interested to see how it would help you, send me a message. I'm open to chatting even for 20 minutes if that's something you want to do. It's not a cost. I'm here to help you. This is literally what lights me up. This is literally what makes me so happy in life. And that's to bring optimum health and performance from others and out of others and for them. This is truly why I do what I do. It is my privilege and blessing to be able to help people get results. I'm a results-driven human, unfortunately. So I will stop talking now. If this masterclass has been helpful, again, please send me your feedback or send me a private message. I hope that it's given you some guidance. And I want you to remember that you are fully capable of that which it is you desire. Absolutely. And it's quite often only you that's getting in the way. So happy cycling, running, athleticism of whichever type you choose. And if you feel called to have a chat, send me a message. Otherwise, have a lovely day and thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad that you're here.